Good evening, Cheeseheads, and welcome to another edition of the Cheese Room Podcast YouTube channel. I'm joined this evening by the one, the only Yid in Austria, HG. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm not the only one in Austria. There are a number of people who support Spurs here, but I'm all right. In fact, to be honest, I know quite a few people here in Vienna who they spend a lot more money going to watch Spurs than I do. Yeah, life is good. Summer holidays have started. The weather is great. England is still in the tournament. Yeah, does it get much better than this?
Well, I'm sure it's fair to say that you won't mind me saying that you're a teacher by profession. So how many weeks holiday have you now got?
Officially, obviously we do planning at home. So it's not really time off. But yeah, 9 weeks. I don't go back until the first month. Yeah, first Monday of September. So it's good for the kids. They need a break from us. We need a break from them. But yeah, it's like, if I'm honest, I think 9 weeks is probably a bit too long. By the time week 5 comes around, I'm like, got nothing left to do. Nothing really needs to be done around the house. But like it's 9 weeks and the weather is good. So there's a guarantee that I can be burned on pretty much any day of the week. It's nice.
It sounds like a beautiful thing to me. It sounds like a beautiful thing. And welcome to all the cheeseheads watching from around the world. Whether you're watching live or on catch up, we appreciate you. Super chats and super stickers are live. Please feel free to use them. It's a great way of showing your support for the podcast. I should also emphasize our podcast is all available on Spotify, Apple Music, and all good platforms. So please do get involved, like, subscribe, use a super chat. We appreciate you any which way we can. And if we can strong on you into being a Patreon, that's available as well. Details are below. HG, there's several things on my mind, several things. I mean, firstly, my mind was pretty blown last night by England, and it's not often I have the opportunity to say that. How's your head? Oh, you don't drink. You'll be fine. But my head this morning, I've had to have a little siesta this afternoon because I was battered last night, for want of a better word. Where did you enjoy the game from?
I watched the first half at home. I got a little bit nervous. Like usually when I'm watching Spurs, I get nervous and like the blood flow kind of stops and my fingers go cold. And last night it was weird. I had the opposite effect. I felt my heart rate was going far too fast. So I actually went outside onto the balcony to watch the second half with headphones on, so I didn't hear the people yelling downstairs from the cafe that the goal had gone in before I'd seen it. But I certainly let the entire neighbourhood know that I was an England fan, and it was great. 3 goals in 15 minutes, game over. It was a great second half. But yeah, I watched it at home. I think for the semi-final on Wednesday, I might go into a public viewing again. But yeah, it's fun. It's just a fun time thinking that that we're going to get nervous, but we have a chance at least.
A very good chance, I would say. HG, for the record, is coming home. Kane, 2 fantastic goals and nearly a hat trick. That's a perfect hat trick. Was on the ball last night.
Is that a cooler thing now? We have this thing called a pat trick that you've just invented. The perfect hat trick. Okay.
Perfect hat trick. Right foot, left foot, head. Beautiful.
Yeah. The first goal was, it wasn't a great goal, but he took it really well. The keeper decided not to use his arms, which always helps. And after 3 or 4 minutes, you're thinking, okay, this is going to be a good night. Look, I won't lie. I do remember us scoring pretty early against Iceland 5 years ago, so I was still a little bit nervous, but you want to have a good start. You always do. And then Kane, it's just about getting more attacking players into the team. As much as people can say that we went from 5 at the back in the Germany game to 4 at the back for this one. It's also who the 3 attacking players are. In the first couple of games, it was Foden, who granted is a great passer of the ball, but he's not really a threat. I don't really see him as an attacker. I see him as an attacking midfielder. Whereas with Saka, Grealish, who's the other guy, Sancho, they're all a bit more attacking and more willing to move the ball forward. So it helps Sterling, it helps Kane, and it helps the team. You've got a third real attacker on the pitch looking to create chances. So it's weird to watch England basically do quite well, play almost within themselves, but still get the job done handsomely. Ukraine aren't the toughest of teams, but it's all about getting the result.
I mean, yeah, it is all about getting a result, and what a result it was in the end. 4-0. I mean, really comprehensive. Haven't let a goal in the tournament yet. And there was me back, if I go back to the first video we did when we started this Euros journey a couple of weeks ago, and me saying the biggest thing that was going to hold us back from winning anything was Southgate and his tactics. But he's proved the caller knows absolutely nothing about football, hasn't he? Which is something you obviously knew already. But
I don't know about nothing.
Spot on, hasn't he? He's got it spot on. And I can't deny him that. He's changed my view of him completely.
It's weird because at the last World Cup, we played this 3 centre-back system, and part of me felt like, okay, like he's doing what he can to get the best out of the team. He realizes there's no real pace at the back, so he uses Walker there. But to see us playing within ourselves, kind of with 4 at the back, yes, we've got 2 very defensive midfielders there to really help. It's not that much different than what Mourinho was doing with Sissoko and Højbjerg, if we want to be really honest. But at the international level, it is all about what you do when you go forward with the ball. And England, to be fair to them, have been all right going forward. It took a while to get the goals against Germany. The goal against Croatia was, I think, early second half. The one against the Czechs was middle of the first half. So, we've not looked much of a threat going forward, but we are very secure at the back. As much as Mings played well in the first couple of games, I think we look more solid with Maguire. He's certainly more of a threat from set pieces because we saw that last night. It's the team's gelling nicely, and the weird thing is that I still believe half of that team that started last night, there'd be people in the country going, "Oh, I wish Grealish had started," or "We might be better with Henderson and Bellingham." Like Phillips and Rice are great, but we could be a lot better. But we're getting the results, and no one is going to argue with that. Like if we win the next 2 games 1-0, no one's going to care. No one's going to care one bit how we got the job done. It would be lovely to go out there and play teams off the park, but right now, especially now, it does not matter. It's about getting the result.
Absolutely. And well, we did play him off the park at the end of the day last night, really. But I was one of those saying, Grealish, why isn't he in the starting 11,
and Grealish didn't even come off the bench last night. I mean, it was a perfect chance for those squad players to get some minutes in their legs. And Grealish, A, was kept on the bench, and B, didn't seem to care. I mean, why would you? Your team's winning 4-0. But we do have a strong squad, and it is weird to we spent ages thinking, well, when it was the Gerrard and Scholes and Lampard dilemma, it was about trying to fit the best team with the 11 best players. I don't think anyone really knows what England's best team could be. We've got a fair idea of as in 5 or 6 of the players. Like Kane is definitely the best striker, but outside of that, I don't think much would change if we ended up with a different 11. It is a great place to be.
Oh, here's Franco. Franco, was that you knocking around with my screen a minute ago? It was like there's a gremlin in the machine there. I looked down and you're there.
Having tech issues, mate. Having tech issues, but I'm here.
Welcome into the cheese room this evening. Are you buzzing? Are you hungover?
No, neither. No, I'm quite excited. Finally, it's taken until the semi-finals of this tournament to be excited, but yeah, I am. You can't argue with that result yesterday. It was a real statement, and I don't know. You've got to look forward to the fact that we're playing a team which we should beat on paper in the semis. I'm not even nervous at this point, but and the final, whoever we play, is going to be great, isn't it? So, giving it the kiss of death. We can be confident. That Rio and everyone in the studio yesterday were confident. There was no worries about that. Everyone was like, "Yeah, we're going to smash them," and we did. So I think we should be confident. Going to beat those.
But Rio's an idiot. I mean, look at his beard. It looks like someone's drawn it on with like a felt tip pen.
It's almost like mine. Yeah.
The guy's a buffoon. I can't see us. You're a bit dark, Franco.
There's nothing I can do, mate. There's nothing I can do. It's overcast today. I'm relying on this natural light.
Wait, the electricity bill.
He's in East London. Everything's a bit dark on that side of the town. Like
exactly. It's the mood.
Oh, look, it's good to have you with us as well this evening. So as you touched on, Franco, Denmark next. HG, should we be as dismissive as Franco was? Or do we feel that Denmark are going to offer some sort of threat? I mean, they've been one of the teams in the tournament so far, haven't they? They've had a couple of big wins.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. They've won 3 games in a row, and they've done it quite comfortably. I mean, even the last game, 2-1, I still thought Denmark was the better side for most of that game. Yeah, they had the rough start that we all know about, but yeah, like you look at them, and I don't think they're much different from Sweden, who we could have played last night. They're pretty functional. They've got some good defenders that we know lots about because a couple of them play in England. They've obviously got the wing back Mela, who might be injured after what happened. I don't know. So, like, they have players that we need to worry about. Delaney plays at Dortmund, and Dolberg's at Nice, and he's obviously scored a few goals for them. So they're not a bad side. But look, if you'd have said to any of us at the start of the campaign, we're going to have Denmark in the semi-finals at home, I think we'd all be thinking, okay, this is certainly doable. Like, I don't want to be super confident because that's just not who I am. Being a Spurs fan and an England fan, no, I think I've learnt my lesson by now. But look, Denmark have a great kit, but I hope this is where their tournament ends.
And I suppose it's just an absolutely colossal advantage that the last 2 rounds are at home, isn't it, Frank? I mean, we barely lose at Wembley, do we? I mean, it should be, on paper, like you say, we should beat them quite comfortably, should we not?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of my criticisms of the tournament. You've got teams going out to Baku to play games, and, you know, I mean, Azerbaijan are not involved in this whatsoever. I just think things like that are a definite disadvantage, even if it's just, was it 2,000 miles or something, when you're playing 2 teams that are probably a couple of 100 miles away from each other. And I feel for the fans in that respect. And it's really good that our fans are going to get to go to their national stadium and watch the boys. So, you know, well done to all those out in Italy who managed to get to that game as well. But traveling miles and miles and miles for this tournament is just stupid. The thing that really makes it is the fans. You know what I mean? When the Scots came down to England, it was a great atmosphere. And I think that's the thing about these tournaments that I always look forward to. All the teams in their national colours, mobbing up a city, having a great time, a real carnival atmosphere. And it's been a little bit lacking in this tournament, I think. And the few moments where it has, and there's been crowds in there, it's been great. And it's what we've all missed. So it's making me a bit more excited about next season now. But yeah, it's a definite advantage. And I'm sure the boys will take advantage.
I've got to say, it's a breath of fresh air watching England, because we've had that turgid season with Spurs, and you're actually watching a team that you think, we're going to go out and smash them here. We're going to win. We're going to hammer them. And they're doing it. They're doing it. I mean, Sancho hasn't played HG the whole tournament, and then he plays like that last night, which I thought he was fantastic. I thought they were all pretty good, but I thought it was just refreshing to see that we can bring a player of that level in, and we've hardly utilised him up to now. Do you think he keeps his place against Denmark?
See, that's the weird thing. I don't think he will, if I'm honest. Now, like, as much as I think Sancho is a great player, and I think probably overall he's better than a lot of the attacking midfielders we have, I don't know what Southgate's logic was for bringing him in for this game. I'd love to know what it was, because he clearly got it right. But I saw that Gary Neville thinks it's going to be the same team, but it'll be Saka instead of Sancho. I could see that happening. I think, bearing in mind that if Mela does play, Denmark are very good down that left-hand side. So he may want to either match up and go 5-3-2, or he might say, I need a more defensive winger down that side, which possibly Saka is. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting choice, but I think the big thing for England is, how we want to line up. Are we going to go to 5 at the back again? Because I'm not sure we should, but I think we might.
Were you not tempted to go out there, HG, being the only member of the cheese room on continental Europe that could get there easily? Were you not tempted to buy that ticket and get down to Italy for that?
I was extremely tempted. Going to watch England games, I can't remember the last time I went to one. Weirdly enough, I've actually seen England play Ukraine before. In 2000, I went to a game on a free ticket that one of my mum's friends got. It was a ticket that Judas Campbell left for me. So it's this weird thing that I had to go to Wembley and ask for a ticket that Sol Campbell had left behind. But yeah, I was tempted. The biggest thing for me was not getting the ticket. Getting the ticket was quite easy. It was just getting there. trying to do it as cheaply as possible, whether taking the train was worth it, whether I looked at going to Budapest and flying from there. That's what one guy in Vienna did. I know he did that. He went to Budapest on the train and just flew from there because it was a whole lot cheaper. It would have been lovely, but I also don't regret not going, if I'm honest. There are things a bit more important than football, and there is. I think I was just a little bit nervous that I was going to go all that way and watch England lose, and that's not something I want to do. No matter, I don't want to pay 30 quid to watch England lose. I certainly don't want to pay 400 quid to watch that happen. So, it was nice to watch it at home, but I was really tempted, and of course, knowing the result, maybe I should have done it. But I don't know. I'll get a season ticket for Austria Vienna or Rapid Vienna this season, and it's less money. So there are lots of things I could do instead.
Franco, next round, Spain, Italy. Who do we want? Because obviously we've decided we're beating Denmark. So Spain or Italy? Italy, obviously the form side. I don't think they've lost for about 30-something games. What are your thoughts?
It's weird because I look at the Italians and I think some of their players aren't that great, but it's just their team spirit seems to be huge this tournament. You've seen them all singing their own national anthem on the bus away from the stadium and stuff like that, and just the passion that they've got. It's incredible. And they're always a tournament team, aren't they? You can never discount the Italians. So I think they would be the team that I would hate to play against. And as well, you see their dark arts, their time wasting, that stuff is what the English are always susceptible to. You can just imagine some players losing their rag at the Italians doing that, or getting one of our players sent off, something like that. The Italians are masters. Yeah, exactly. But they're much better. Much better than Lamela. Even his dark arts are surpassed by the Italians. So, I mean, the thing is, I look at again players like Immobile. He's brilliant in the Italian league, but I watched him all tournament, and he's showing flashes. But generally, I don't think he's that great. But they just do what they need to do, and some of their goals have been really good this tournament. Really good work rate, and the amount of running they were doing in that last game, absolutely busting a gut for it. And I think that's the difference between them and Spain. I think on quality, Spain maybe edge it. I don't know. It's close, but I think the Italians, they've got the work rate and the heart for it. So I think we'll be playing them in the final.
HG agree with that?
HG doesn't agree.
Yeah, look. I think we'll play Italy in the. I think we'll play Italy in the final if we get there, but I'm still focused completely on the semi-final because I know, deep down it's England. I can't ever expect England to win these games. So look, yes, I understand on paper all that nonsense, but I do think Italy are better than Spain. As a team, as individuals, I think they are a better side. Spain have been pretty fortunate. I mean, they beat Croatia on extra time, and the Croatians should have gone up in that game because there was a great chance from Kramaric. And then, of course, penalties against Switzerland. To be fair, I think the Swiss have had the roughest trot in the tournament so far because they've flown 12,000 kilometres to play their games. England's done, Burton to Wembley and back, and Wembley to Rome and back. It's crazy, but look, Italy are better than Spain. I think that Italy will make the final, and if they get to the final, they will be the favourites no matter who they play.
Well, I'm going to go right against the grain and say Spain are going to get to the final, and I don't know why, but we do. If you're a Patreon, you'll know this. If you're a Patreon and you're watching, you'll know that we've got the Seb's Prediction League running at the moment, and I was doing really well at the group stages, and it's basically gone horrendously tits up since then, and I'm dropping like a stone. So I know everyone's going to back Italy for the win, so I'm going to be contrary on the basis it's probably my only chance to come back into the tournament. But I do think that Spain have got the quality to cause any team problems, and it's who turns up on the day. Look, Italy struggled to beat Austria, so it's out there, isn't it? And you'd say that Spain are a better team than Austria. So I think they're more than capable of giving them a game, and I don't see any reason why it could go either way. Is the honest truth? They've both got some very good players. HG, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to say, obviously I'm a bit biased here. Italy wanted to play against Austria, but Austria didn't let them. It was very much a defensive and reactive performance from Austria, but that they set out to stop the Italians at where they are best, which is from the fullbacks, especially from the left back who did his Achilles tendon. He's out now, but Like that's where most of the Italy attacks come from. They come down that left-hand side. Berardi in the first few games was okay. Chiesa did all right in the last game, but I think most of the attacks come down the left, and so Austria was smart on that. And on another day, was it Arnautovic's shoulder was half an inch behind, and they'd have won that game. I don't think that means that Italy are bad or that Austria are great. I just think that it was a really good battle on the day. But like if you said, are Spain going to play like that against Italy? No, I don't think they will, and I think that will suit the Italians. So Spain, they do have great players, but like you can't look at Morata and think he's guaranteed to score the chances he's going to get, and he plays every game. They have some decent attackers, Spain, but you don't think that they really work as an attacking trident just yet. And they're going through round by round, but they've been pretty unimpressive the whole tournament.
I'd agree. Whoever, which either one of you put that up? Do you want to talk about it?
No, it's just a fair point, and I think it's interesting as well that we've done really well with injuries so far. It makes a massive difference. Ukraine had a few players out, struggled. Not that I think they would have done any better with the players that they were missing, but it's a big shame. Spinazzola's been great in this tournament, and him being missed could make a bit of a difference to them. You never know.
I mean, we've kept all our players fit. There's almost one certainty that Harry Kane's rescued this tournament. The ankle's going in the next game, and his transfer to Manchester City is going to be 100% off. So we're going to park international football there and start, because we will do a preview show, of course, for the next England game. We are going to talk about Tottenham. So some news for you. So this week we've appointed Ian Cathro, Rui Barbosa, and Antonio Diaz. HG, educate me, because I know literally chuff all about any of them.
I don't know a great deal about many of them. I know that it's Nuno's trusted team. They've been with him at Valencia, at Wolves. I do know a little bit about Ian Cathro because he's Scottish and was considered to be their kind of wunderkind when it came to being a manager. He was coaching I learned about him while he was coaching in Portugal for Nuno. I just didn't realize it was for Nuno at the time. But apparently he met Nuno at some Scottish coaching course, and they've been best buds since. And he left Nuno at one point to go and manage up in Scotland. I think it was Hearts. Didn't do a great job there, and I think one of the Scottish players came out and said, "I wouldn't respect him because he's younger than me." That kind of proper football man nonsense. But it's like obviously they work well together, and like you want him to come with the people that he knows he can trust, the people that work well with him. So that's all we can ask for. I don't really care either way. I don't have a preference if it was King or not. I want Nuno to have the team that he wants, and it appears that he's got it.
And Ledley back to his ambassadorial duties, Franco. Is that a surprise?
I think he'd probably be a little bit disappointed. And it does seem a bit weird. I don't know. It feels like we maybe got him as part of the backroom staff to kind of be the conduit between the club and Jose. But I don't understand why having Nuno come in means that has to end. So it seems a bit odd that we would let sort of Ledley, being the club legend, do that and then just cut it short straight away rather than invest that time. But Mason's staying in position, right?
Yeah. Mason's head of the... Well, he's got promotion, hasn't he? Head of Youth Academy now, whereas I think he was under 18s before, wasn't he? They've got a new under 18s coach. So Mason's come out smelling the roses, really, hasn't he?
It's weird. I mean, I don't understand it at all. I mean, I'm sure Steve will be happy because he'll see Ledley potting around the Tunnel Club and around the back, seeing all of our corporate customers and shaking hands and stuff like that. But it's weird with Ledley because he's not like the most outgoing, charismatic characters that you would expect to be in that ambassadorial role. So I thought maybe that him on the coaching pitch, just imparting some of his knowledge on players would be where he was best suited. But I don't know. But it's interesting that he wants to stick at the club rather than say, no, I'm going to go and try and get a coaching role somewhere else. So, but it's a shame. Yeah, I would like to see him sort of on the touchlines.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I mean, I'm down at the stadium doing the Skywalk on Friday and the stadium tour, and I'm just hoping Ledley's doing the Skywalk with me.
He'll be fastening you up to the railing, caller. So, got to make sure he's at his training.
Yeah. Put your iPad down, Ledley. Put your iPad down. Start going through tactical formations. So obviously good that we've got some coaches in place. An interesting only three coaches appointed, as was rumoured that I think it was Conte wanted to bring about 7 in. So clearly Levy's had his way there.
Well, because one of Conte's is his hairdresser to make sure that his barnet looks all right.
Well, and he's got another one doing all his social media, his Instagram and everything. So if you've ever seen his Instagram, it's like, honestly, hero worship, Mr. Conte. Following him around, feet up with the football, looking very Italian, flicking his implants around and all the rest of it. Which isn't the kind of implants I want to be looking at on Instagram, just for the record. Sessegnon returns to the club. Huge fee we paid for the youngster, 20 million. So had a season out on loan from Hoffenheim last season. HG, do you think Sessegnon is going to be a part of the setup this year? I mean, we paid an enormous amount over the odds by the look of it for this guy, bearing in mind how tight we are normally. So we must see him to have some sort of future, or are we putting our eggs in the wrong basket? What's happening with him?
I think Pochettino definitely saw a future with him. I'm not sure anyone else has. I mean, he didn't really play for Pochettino before he got sacked. So it's been a weird move for Sessegnon, because clearly Mourinho decided he was worthy of a loan and not a chance to be in the squad. His loan in German football went all right. He played half of the games, or started half the games for Hoffenheim, scored a few goals, couple of assists, but they do play a wing-back system at Hoffenheim, and that's where he spent most of his games. So it'll be interesting. Like, if we do go to a wing-back formation, then that might work for him. But I've never seen him as a defender. I've always thought he was going to be an attacking fullback who can't defend, or to be honest, he's really an old-school left-sided midfielder. Someone like, to show my age a bit here, someone like Kevin Sheedy. Or Giggs, or someone who just kind of plays on that left-hand side and keeps the shape of the team, and might get across him once in a while and might score a worldie, but really it just keeps the shape. That's an issue, because if we don't play 5 at the back, then where is he going to get minutes? That I don't know. So I can only hope that if Nuno has decided that he wants him around, that means we're going to play 5 at the back. We'll have wing backs for next season and possibly beyond.
Franco, Sessegnon, does he float your boat? And what do we know anything about how he got on at Hoffenheim?
Well, yeah, like AC said, he played half the games, but Hoffenheim, they had injuries and then he filled in different positions. But he played quite a lot I say quite a lot. I think it was like 8 games they played with a flat back 4, and he played left back then, but then he played wing back when they played 3 at the back, and he often played in sort of a further up role, with Hoffenheim playing a DM in front of their back 3, and then with sort of 4 across in front of that. But I think the biggest issue with what we saw at Spurs was that it just was not exciting, or it didn't. There was nothing there that made you think, right, he's going to really kick on at Spurs. He just seemed nervous almost, and he didn't want to take on his fullback. He didn't really seem to want to have any bursts of pace into the box. I mean, the one goal he scored against Bayern, wasn't it? Was great, like a really confident finish. And we've seen in the Championship, he has got a decent foot on him. And he knows where the goal is. But it's just getting in those positions. And we found it a lot. It would go out wide to him. He would just look to recycle it back. And that kind of cautiousness of staying in possession of the football. And I do wonder whether that was drilled into him, or just saying, like, ease yourself into the squad. Don't take any risks. But I think that's what young players should do. And they're probably in a better position to do it, because they're young and they're adventurous, and I think those are the sort of things we were looking for. And it was a bit disappointing, really. He just seemed a bit too cautious at Spurs. I've no doubt that he's a player. He's been playing professional football now for about 5 seasons, hasn't he? And he's only 21, 22 next season.
21, yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, still really young.
Bags of experience for a kid that young, and that's why we'd pay the money, because I think they know that even if we get rid of him, we're probably going to get that money back. But he needs to kick on, because now he needs to be sort of realising his potential and trying to make his way into the first team, and then further and further, doesn't he? So I think it'd be good if we are playing 3 at the back to have him and Reggie. It's a really good selection of wing backs to have. It's the right hand side then, isn't it? What we're going to do whether Serge leaves, and I imagine Doherty's now likely to stay, which a few of us didn't expect.
Well, I was expecting him to stay, because he had a 3-year contract. Was it a 2-year contract? So, well, no, I didn't think anyone else would take him off our hands, if I'm being really honest, Franco. That's why I expected him to stay. And I always think, if you've been away from. If you've, I'm sorry, I'm just staggered because Colin has just sent us £10.
Oh, Colin's
chat.
chucked his weekend's money that he hasn't spent in. Cheers,
thank
Colin.
you so much. It really supports the Cheese Room for doing that. So we absolutely appreciate you. We're not going to talk about leave you out. Yep. That's not how we spend our time, although we're more than happy to have that debate with anyone. Colin, we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And you were laughing, Franco, because you know it's my least favourite topic of conversation. Sessegnon. So I think hopefully we'll see some good things from him. Another player who's been out on loan, and one of your favourites, I think, Franco, Jack Clarke.
Yeah.
So Jack Clarke is obviously back at the club. The rumours are, if you read the papers, he's going back out on loan this season. What do you think about that? Do you think he should be back out on loan, or do you think we should give him a little run in the side? And do you think Nuno is going to maybe bring the best out of him? He looks exciting when he plays. That's one thing I would say.
He does. I think the problem is there's quite a few experienced players ahead of him, which is why the Conference League is a perfect conduit for him to show his ability. I think some of the teams will be playing there, certainly in the early rounds, players like Clarke can be used, even if it's off the bench. I think that's exactly where he should be. All right. This is why I've not been on here recently. I can't sort my lighting rig out. I'll get one off Amazon. Don't worry. I'll give Bezos some cash.
We're going to crowdfund it for you, Franco. Don't worry.
Well, that's what Colin's £10 is going to go on. Cheers, Colin. Buy me a decent light.
You'll be illuminated the next time you see him. Sorry, go on.
So, yeah, I really like him. I saw he's doing a video with some sort of pre-season training at one of these like football academies and was just whacking in top bins and looking really good. And he looks like a really skilled and technically gifted player. He's got a burst of pace. He's got loads of things to be excited about, but he's just not been given the opportunity. I watched Stoke at least 4 more times than I wanted to last season to watch him play. And, Stoke aren't a great football team. And it's one of those things where you're just sitting there going, give it to Clarke, give it to Clarke, give it to Clarke. And for like 15 minutes, they wouldn't even pass him the ball. But when he did get on it, he looks like he's a mature player. I think we can trust him, certainly in Europe. And I'd be gutted if he went out on loan at the start of the season. If we're going to do a loan, like keep him in for the early rounds of the Conference League up until Christmas time, and then look for a loan if that's if he's not getting enough game time and we're not that impressed with him. But it's just going to be pointless if we loan him out to sort of an average conference side and championship side, and he doesn't really get games.
Well, look, I'm just loving all the comments coming in about your lighting, really, Franco, because it's just amusing me. It's tickling me. Belambros, that'll pay for Franco's electricity meter for an hour or two. And Mike being very generous, saying you talk a lot of sense, even if I can't quite see you. On the next topic of conversation I've got for you, I'm going to come to you specifically with this one, HG. Erik Lamela is rumoured to be leaving the club this summer, and has said he's cool to leave. HG, would you be happy about that?
Yes, very much so. How many times do I need to say it? Look, was it 8 years now? 8 years at Spurs. It's time to go. I'm going to turn into Claude on this one. It's time to go. Erik, your time is up. Look, yes, you try really hard. We're all really grateful for the Rabonas that you got once, twice a decade, whatever it's going to be. No, I'm sorry. Look, if we want to give people like Jack Clarke a chance, Lamela's going to go. The same thing, obviously, Bale's probably not going to come back. So we might need some people down that right-hand side, but Lamela's not that guy. I'd much rather see Lucas, Bergwijn, Jack Clarke getting the minutes on that side than I would see Lamela. So I hope he gets a nice move. I hope he goes back to Italy and gets regular football. I've got nothing against him. I just don't think he's very good, and I'd like to see him go.
I mean, that is better, Franco. I can see a little bit better there.
Yeah.
My question is, of those 8 years, HG, how many years has he been fit of those 8 years?
Half. But I mean, I'll be fair. I wanted him gone. The year that, was it that Pochettino's first year? I already wanted him gone after that one. And he'd played a lot that year. And I just thought, no, I don't think you're good enough. I think he was keeping Chadley out the side and Son hadn't joined the club at the time. And I just thought Lamela, for an attacking midfielder, doesn't offer enough when it comes to attacking. That's kind of his job. It's been a very long 5 or 6 years for me to feel this way, but hopefully with 1 year left on his deal, it is time to go. Please.
Well, any advance on that, Franco? You're happy to see the back of Coco? I mean, who's going to provide us with Rabonas?
No, you know that I've got a soft spot for Lamela. It's not based upon his footballing ability whatsoever. It's and a lot of it's based on just arguing with HG for the sake of it, to be honest. But look, I think the one thing is that he loves Spurs. He's very passionate, and that's pretty much it. Apart from that, I've given up now. To be honest, I've given up supporting him, and I'll be a little bit sad to see him go. But look, we need to be honest. He's never fulfilled his potential, and I would like to see other players like Jack Clarke play ahead of him now, if I'm honest. And it'd probably, quite nice for him to go back to Italy or somewhere, and he'd probably do quite well.
Go back to Jose.
He would probably do quite well in another league. I think that's the thing. So, and yeah, like I said, I'll be sad to see him go, but it's time.
It is time. It is time. Lamela on your bike. Not much love for Lamela left here, unfortunately. I've been a staunch Lamela supporter, Rabonas and all, for years.
Mike's asking how much. Mike's asking how much would we get for him, and that's the difficult thing, because you say Roma. Would you think Jose really wants him?
I'd say Jose would probably have him. Yeah, if he could acquire him cheaply, $5 million. He's not going to be much more than that, as he's a squad player, and he's not going to be back much more than that at Roma either.
I think I don't know, it's difficult. I think in normal times you could probably get 10, 15 for him, but it's just not going to happen now, is it? He's getting quite old. This is going to be his last, big move, I suppose. Yeah, so we'd be lucky if we get $5 million for him, which is pretty poor, to be honest, because you can't get much for $5 million these days, can you?
No. But you can get a lot for $199, particularly if you put it in the meter. Sam, thank you very much for your super chat. We really appreciate it. All of that really helps the channel reinvest and get some lights for Franco. I think it's trending now on Twitter. #lighting for Franco.
You'll start a GoFundMe page. If I start crying as well, will you start a GoFundMe page about it?
Let's not go there. Let's not go there tonight. Okay, next one for you. Franco, I'll give you this one. Lots of noise about Joe Rodon being linked with a move to Brighton, who have expressed an interest in the player. I'd be very surprised if that happens, wouldn't you?
Look, we need to buy defenders. I don't know what this idea that we need to sell them all first. I want to see at least 2 defenders come in before we start thinking about any of our defenders leaving. And he is probably 3rd or 4th in line. I think we all think that Sanchez and Dyer are the ones that get the most pelters, aren't they? Therefore, they're the ones that probably we would like to see go first. Toby wants to leave now as well, if you believe the press, which I'm not too sure about. So that's 3 players there that are ahead of Rodon. So Brighton can want him all they want. I don't want to see him go. And I think he's probably won quite a lot of Spurs fans over in this tournament. And I think he's still got room to improve. So I don't think we should necessarily be, building a team around him, like they say. But I think he's definitely one of the ones that's going to be banging on the door to be starting week in, week out next season, especially if we're playing 3 at the back. There's room for him.
Absolutely. Well, an extra centre-back position every week. HG, just continue the rubbish on that. Rodon's had a great Euros, as John Williams has just said. I can't see for the life of me that's going to happen, is it? He's not going to go anywhere, is he?
No, probably not. And I've not been his biggest fan, but I will say that he hadn't had many opportunities. And the games he did play, he played alongside Sanchez, and they're very, very similar. So, look, Rodon, after 1 year of not playing, it would be super early to give up on him. But I can understand why Brighton might want him, because I think Graham Potter gave him his debut at Swansea. So there's a link there. Like, if anyone knows how to get the best out of Rodon, it probably is Graham Potter. But yeah, from Spurs' point of view, like as Franco said, like if Toby wants out and we want Dyer out and we want maybe Sanchez out and Aurier is going to go, understandably, we want those players to leave if we don't think they're good enough, but they can't all be not good enough, surely. Toby to me is clearly the best, and it's not even close. But if he wants to go, and it makes sense for him and the club, who will move on from Toby in the next 12 months anyway, or at least they should, then let's get some younger players in. The guy at Eintracht Frankfurt, I love him. His name is Evan Ndika. I don't know how to say it. It's a lovely French ND name. He's a left-footed centre-back who's like 22, 23 and has played top-level football for a while. He's a good player. If it meant we were going to get youngsters in that were highly rated, then I'm all for it. But Rodon was that guy last year, and I don't really think there's any reason to think that he's not going to be that guy right now. He's highly rated. He's still unproven in the top league. We should be keeping him around, even if he's not a regular starter, as Franco said. If we're playing 3 at the back, we need to have 5 centre-backs, plus maybe Davis as a 6th, for it to function.
I'm definitely going to read this. This Sanchez is now a penalty king. Is he?
Scored a pen last night.
Oh, did he really? I didn't know that.
Colombia, yeah.
It was nice. I thought he was just going to smash it, but it was like the hardest side foot into the bottom corner you'll see. It's like a bullet.
Beautiful technique. Sam Fisher says, when the caller cries when England either goes out or wins the Euros, will HG start up a Just Giving page for the caller? This was supposed to be a super chat, but it went wrong. We got your sticker or your super chat, so that's fine. Sam, I'll put your question to him. HG, are you going to fund me?
Hey, look, the guy who started this Just Giving page for the German, I don't think he knows where they live. I don't think he knows who they are. So, yeah, if you want to put 20 grand in an account that's coming to me, I'm in. I'll sell Cooler down the river if I get some money out of it.
Rude.
But look, it's a lovely gesture, but it is worrying to think that he doesn't know the family that he's supposedly raising money for. But yeah, that is another story. But Sam, yeah, look, Caller and I have had our issues, but even though he doesn't need the money, I would be happy to raise some for him.
I always need more money. I mean, look, I could do with a few more studio lights, maybe. I don't know. Right.
We can see enough of you, Caller. Thanks.
in 4K, loving it. I'm hoping I'm going to get some great footage of me on the skywalk on Friday. I might try and stream actually from the top of the skywalk on my mobile. What are you saying, HG?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking. I saw a quote, a question from John Williams. Yeah, like I agree with that completely. I think the Goonies are going to get Ben White anyway. I'm surprised he wants to go there, but it does look like it's going to happen. And if Rodon went to replace him, then yeah, like Brighton. I think Brighton would take Rodon on loan, but can they have Tanganga instead? Like it's like I don't know. It does seem a bit of a sideways move for him. Even if it did mean regular game time, it's a strange one. But yeah, we don't want to help the Goons in any way. Like let them waste their money. But yeah, no, we don't want to encourage that.
It's a really strange rumour. Like a lot of people last season, particularly on the cesspool that is Twitter, were waxing lyrical about Rodon last season in comparison to all of our other centre-back options. A lot of people saying he's our best defender. I remember Pete doing a chat with you on here, and people saying Rodon is our best defender, Rodon in, and all the rest of it. Now, those people might very well know nothing, but I don't disagree with them. I think he was as good as anyone last season at the back. And why we'd send a prospect like that out to loan when we're potentially playing 3 at the back, or sell him, even worse, I have no idea whatsoever. So I'm going to say that is paper talk and bullshit. In the words of Christian Eriksen. Yeah, it was.
I don't think that Brighton would want him for the reasons that I said. Like, he has a history with Potter. It makes sense. He does count as homegrown. He doesn't count as homegrown in Europe, but Brighton aren't in Europe, so they don't have to worry about that. So there are lots of reasons for Brighton to want him. But like I've said a few times on here, I think he's the Welsh Sanchez. Now, that can be a compliment or it can be an insult, depending on what you think of Sanchez, but I think they're just very, very similar. They put their body on the line and then they make a few mental mistakes every now and again, but that they are... It's almost like Dawson. Dawson was no different. He played with his heart on his sleeve, was a great defender for us, but you also knew that if he had King next to him, he looked a lot better. So it's going to be tough, but yeah, I don't think Rodon's going. No.
I think he'll almost certainly stay. Okay, right. The next one. This is not going to be popular at all with you two. I'm just going to disclaimer it now. If Kane leaves, which we know he's not going anywhere, but if hypothetically, work with me for a minute, because Paul Robinson has given an interview in the press this weekend that says if Harry Kane leaves Spurs, we should absolutely go and make a massive offer for Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Everton. Now, is Paul Robinson showing his lack of depth of knowledge, Franco? I'm going to come to you as you're pissing yourself laughing.
Nowhere near the same type of player, is he really? He started off the season really well, scored some goals, but he's kind of one of these players that turns up at the right time. Kane has just got so many more strings to his bow. Like, his finishing is on a completely different level. And I like Calvert-Lewin. He's got something about him, and he talks well, etc., etc. I'm not caught up in the hype, if I'm honest. I'm really not. And he wouldn't be a replacement. It's a serious downgrade. Not even with the potential, I think, to ever get anywhere near Kane. Now, obviously, Kane is one of the best strikers in the last decade in world football. So it's not like there's a huge amount of players lining up. But like the only player I can see as being an ample replacement would be someone like Haaland. And the chance of us getting him are very slim. So that's going to be the big thing, is why I don't want to get rid of Kane, even if it costs us money this season. Even if it's 20, 30 million off his asking price, I would still do it because he's that valuable to us as a striker. So no, Calvert-Lewin is not the one. We've got more hope of someone like Dane Scarlett becoming the next big thing than we have of Calvert-Lewin sort of being an ample replacement for Kane. So no. Paul, would you say Paul Robinson, as in our ex-goalkeeper?
Paul Robinson.
Yeah, not the guy from Neighbours, no.
There's a few. It makes as much sense. He probably knows as much. Yeah. So
HG,
sorry, Robbo.
You tell me that Robbo's talking nonsense as well, and I'll go home a happy man tonight.
Look, if you play to Calvert-Lewin's strengths, he'll score your goals. Kane plays to his own strengths and scores your goals. That's the difference. We'd have to change everything about how we play if we wanted to get anything near the goal output from Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin, I do think, is a good player, but yeah, we'd have to change a lot of things. It's not a like-for-like switch, as Franco said, and that's taking away the fact that Everton aren't going to sell him. And would he really leave Everton for us? I just don't think it would basically be like saying, right, we're now flush with cash because we've sold Kane. Let's give 3/4 of it to Everton, and they won't say no for silly amounts of money. But it would be a terrible move for Spurs, just terrible.
And I agree with John, if I'm honest. If I was going to go for anyone right now, it would probably be Ings. And it's obviously not a long-term thing, but Ings would give us 2 seasons. I think that would be a decent idea to try and get him this summer if we could. Try and keep Kane as well. Do a minor transition, then hope we can get another season or 2 out of Ings at the end of that, whilst we search for the next big thing. But yeah, we need to start winning games as well.
So what you're saying, Franco, is that you'd like to see a few Kane-ings at Spurs next season.
Exactly. The headline's already there.
Brilliant. What I would say is with I've wanted to sign Danny Ings for years, but it's always been he doesn't want to play second fiddle to Kane, and I think we are interested in him. So it's whether or not Kane moves. I think if he moves, I think he would be a very realistic target because he's going to get you 20 goals a season. You get the ball to him. He's clinical. In fact, I think he should be in the England squad, to be honest. But there you go.
He's also one of those players where a move to us would be a financial incentive for him. It'd be his last chance at sort of big game football. It's just if we're in the Champions League next season, then it would be almost guaranteed that we could get him. But we need to do really well this next season, and I think we need 2 strikers in order to do that.
And
go on.
You're looking at Southampton. He's keeping them up. Southampton have they have a good manager. I do rate Hasenhüttl, but their squad is relatively weak. They've lost Bertrand to Leicester, I think. If Ings goes, they're reliant on really pretty much no one. There's no Ward-Prowse is basically their only good player left. If Ings does leave this summer and they don't get someone who comes in and can score you 15, 20 goals, Southampton will be candidates for relegation. I don't want that to be the case. I just think it will be because their squad is pretty weak. I think in Southampton's case, they will keep Ings for another year. If it means that they can stay in the Premier League for one more year, they'll let him go on a free because it makes sense for them to do that.
Well, financially, totally makes sense, and I suppose this is probably a question for another show. But hypothetically, if we did get rid of Kane, who would you replace him with? And maybe have a think about that, and we'll come back to it on a future show, because I think we would need a whole show to almost debate it, to be honest.
I can name one at least.
Go for it.
I think we should buy 2 strikers if Kane left, but one of them would be Luka Jovic. I love the guy. I think that Real Madrid probably want rid of him. He's on ridiculous wages at Madrid. I mean, like insane, almost 400 grand a week. However, he's young. He's still the best finisher I've seen in football in a very, very long time. You give him a one-on-one chance, I expect it to go in the net. So Jovic would be one of the 2, and then maybe someone bigger. I know we've been linked with Vlahovic. I don't know too much about him, but like someone like Vlahovic and Jovic, if we got both of them, that might replicate a little bit. But Jovic would definitely be one I'd want.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we never have to have that show where we start discussing that. But I think it might be tested this transfer window. Go on, Franco.
No, I was just going to say the thing that I always thought about Kane that would keep him here is beating those records. And I think, what is it, something like 55 goals now to beat Spurs' all-time goal-scoring record, something like that. And I know I was watching that Lineker Shearer documentary on BT Sport last night, and Shearer was kind of joking about how worried he is about Kane breaking that record. I know he can do that at another team in Manchester, but I thought that the Spurs record might keep him there as well, when he can do that within 2 seasons. It's just,
I just don't see it.
No, I don't, because the problem is he's literally getting into, he'd be 29, then 30, and I think that you're much less likely to get a big move to Man City or someone like that at that point. But it's difficult.
Isn't that good for us though? Like if he doesn't go to Man City, like send him abroad.
In his head, it's now or never, isn't it? It's now or never. I think that's why he's done what he's done at the end of the season, because he's sort of thinking to himself, shit, I've signed this really long deal. I'm boxed in. Spurs are going nowhere now. And I'm in the best years of my career. And it literally, and I'm quite injury prone as well. So it literally is now or never for me to try and force something to happen.
I think he was going to hold out till next season. I think, but he's just looked at the way Spurs are at the moment and just thought, we're not going to do it this season coming up. And we're not, are we? We're not going to be challenging for it. We might get a cup if we do really well, but we're not going to be challenging for the league again. We've slipped too far behind. So I think that it's just the stars have aligned really badly in that sense. I think he was hoping maybe under Jose had some faith in him that he was going to get the team performing last season, and sadly it all just fell away. So yeah. I think it would be ambitious to think that we can keep Kane for longer than a season. I just don't see it happening now.
Hey, I have a
shout out Matt, who's written in it. So Matt is, as some of you will know, watch his show. He's Irish, and he's looks like he's learned some Danish. He's now Denmark's biggest fan. Hello, Matt.
Do you want me to translate it? Do
you speak Danish?
It's close enough to German that I can read it. Yeah, it's basically like which players would you like to see us sign in the summer? That's basically it.
I got Summer.
I saw Summer. Yeah. Summer.
Jan Sommer, right? The goalkeeper. That's who we want. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get through the remainder of my questions for you guys, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to go through any questions in the chat. So do drop your questions in, guys. If you want to leave a super chat, obviously you've got more chance of it being read out. So do that while we're talking. Other rumours, Miralem Pjanic. I said that right, G? I think I'm actually saying it worse than before when you taught me how to pronounce it, because I'm putting too much effort in. Pjanic.
Like Pjanic. Piano, Pjanic.
And itch.
Okay, good. Pjanic. Franco, you want to take this one?
I just think
he's a question yet.
Well, your question is going to be: should we get him on a free from Barcelona? Now he's available potentially on a free.
Yeah,
it's not my first gig, caller. It's not my first podcast. Yes, is the short answer to that. I think with the market like it is, with the supposed lack of money that we've got, I think we should be looking at free transfers, and if we can get him cheap, then fair enough. Salary will be expensive, no doubt. I think he's supposed to be on like 250, something like that at Barca, which is why they need to get rid of him, which is a lot of money. I think at his age, he can probably expect to kind of take a little hit on that, because he didn't play much last year for Barca. And I'm not sure whether it was injuries or whether he was just out of favour, but he certainly didn't get anywhere near as much time as he did when he was at Juve. And to be honest, you look at his career and he has contributed less and less. I think his peak was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where he was sort of double figures for goals and assists, which is obviously very good for the Italian league. And I haven't seen him play for a season or two, it must be said, so I don't really know what his situation is at the moment. But he always seemed to me as a player that had really good technical ability, touch of class, and an eye for goal. And at the end of the day, that's an upgrade on Harry Winks. Even if it's for 2 seasons, that's an upgrade on Harry Winks. So I think that's the sort of move that we should be looking to do. That doesn't mean I think we're going to at all. But you've got to think with Paratici involved, he knows, he's got to know him. He's got to know this is available. He's probably been on the blower, you hope. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping that's a move we do.
Been on the blah. Here's my funky fact for you. Well, I'm going to come to him in a minute, but let me tell you what I think of Pjanic. Is rated 83 on FIFA 21.
I was going to say, you reading this? So are you reading this on a bit of paper?
No. Well, no, I have got a few notes, but shit, Franco, I'll have you know. But yeah, he's rated 83 on FIFA 21, and obviously I play FIFA 21, PS5. Anyone, if you are, drop your hand in there. I'll hammer you on FIFA. HG, you've got something you want to say? Let's go for it.
The only thing is, I don't really think we should be getting Pjanic. Like, I think he's a good player. I just don't think that's really where I want to be going with whatever small money we have. He's 31. He's not the biggest. Is he really going to adapt to the English game? It just seems a massive risk as far as I'm concerned. I think there are lots of Barcelona players that they're trying to get rid of. They're trying
HG, can I just stop you? Your audio's gone a bit weird. Or is it Franco? Okay. No, it's you. It's definitely you. I don't know if you want to join again.
All right, I'll come out and come back in again.
Just turn into a Dalek. Franco.
It's whilst HG's, but he's talking rubbish. He's entirely the sort of player we need. No, I just think that we need a player that's got a bit more mobility, a bit more skill than Harry Winks. And I think anyone we can get that does that, especially for free, he's a proven international player. He's played at the top level. I think those are the sort of players that we should maybe get as a stopgap, because let's be honest, we're on the start, I would assume, of another rebuild. Jose didn't get to finish his, and I think if that's where we are, then we probably need 1 or 2 experienced players that are going to come in and see us through the next year or two.
HG, you want to try and finish what you were saying?
If the sound is good enough, can you hear me okay?
I know, yeah.
I think if we're going to sign someone from Barcelona on a free, they're looking to get rid of Umtiti. Like, I know he's had a few injuries, but he's still, mid to late 20s, left-sided centre-back, can play left-back. That, to me, would make more sense than signing Pjanic, just because, I heard what Franco said about you maybe getting 1 or 2 years out of him, but that's 1 or 2 years that Skipp isn't playing for Spurs, so maybe Skipp has to go out on loan. I just think that there are areas of the squad that getting someone in for a couple of years makes sense, with striker being one of them. But I'm not sure central midfield is an area that we're understocked in. We've got Dombele, we've got Lo Celso, we've got Højbjerg, Skipp. Winks may hang around. I read today that Winks might stay now because Mourinho's gone.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. I read it. I mean,
when will that man leave my club? Get out, Harry Winks.
Here's an interesting one from young Matt. Paratici's live on Sky Sports Italy in 10 minutes. I don't know what he's going to go on. I think we're a bit hopeful to think he's going to go on there and tell us all who we're going to sign this summer, but you never know.
Yeah, I hope so.
That'd be good.
Do you speak Italian, HG?
I've got a decent smattering of French, so I might understand some, but I don't speak it. No, I don't speak it. But like with languages, once you've got one, especially the Germanic ones, it does help. It really does help. So Danish, Norwegian, just having an understanding of German means that I kind of know what's going on when I read it, but I can't speak a word of it.
We're still open to offers from Winks. Hang on, please. Please. Well, look, the next person I wanted to talk to you about was Oliver Skipp, funnily enough, and you brought him into conversation there. So, HG, Oliver Skipp, you're very much a fan, probably not as big a fan of me. In fact, hindsight is a wonderful thing. And I remember in the first season we did this illustrious podcast, I actually said, Skipp is going to be a much bigger thing than Winks. And at the time, everyone was waxing lyrical about Winks. So I'm taking full credit for that. And all I would say is you're a fan, aren't you?
I am a fan of Skipp. I watched Skipp at the Audi Cup. Look, I know it was only pre-season a couple of years ago, but he looked a better player then than what we'd seen him play the season before when he came in a few times under Pochettino. We talk about the confidence needed to play at that level, and maybe Sessegnon hasn't got that confidence to really think he belongs. I think Skipp does have that. Like, I know he's not played Premier League football really, but I think that he understands, I can hang with these guys. He's just spent a year at Norwich, who were a Premier League team the season before, and also, of course, they will be one this season too. I think Skipp kind of knows, in training, even at Spurs, I can hang with these guys, I can play with these guys. So, like, I understand the logic of sending him out for another year and maybe getting him more game time at a higher level, but you want someone like Skipp in your squad. We all want to see him come in and be that guy. I don't want to see him be that guy for someone else. The only advantage is that he doesn't become a homegrown player until next season. So he's an under-21 player, which is still good, don't get me wrong. But when people talk about needing homegrown players, you only need them if they're 21 and above. But if they're younger than that, you can have 5 or 6 homegrown players. It doesn't really matter because you've got quality under-21s that can take those roles. But I want to see Skipp stay around. I genuinely think he's a little bit of everything. He's combative when he needs to be. He can tackle. He can put his foot in. But he can pass the ball and he's composed. And I think that's what you want from a central midfielder. I really do.
Absolutely. Franco, your view on Skipp? Is he going to be in the first team this season?
Yeah, definitely. Again, I watched a lot of Norwich last season.
Most of my friends, hometown, isn't it?
Near enough, yeah. Most of my friends from back home are Norwich fans, yeah. So I have a lot of discussion about Norwich and how we always loan them players that do well for them. He did really well last year. Admittedly, in that role, he was kind of just sitting back and letting the attacking players do their job and sweeping up. But it's things like his movement is good, his finding space is good, his reading of the game is good. And for a young player like that, that's really important. I did feel that he was maybe a little bit lightweight when he was at Spurs, but last season he seemed to hang perfectly well in that division and didn't look sort of too small.
That's a hard league, the Championship, really hard physical league, isn't it?
Exactly. And he was, he's putting in plenty of tackles, breaking up play, all that stuff. And that we saw with Højbjerg this tournament, he's really good. And it just felt like towards the end of the season, like the last 2-3 months, he'd just been struggling from playing just so much football. So it'd be good to have a genuine replacement for him who can come in. And I think Skipp can easily do that. So I expect him to get, at least 15, 20 starts in all competitions. Again, the Conference League is a perfect competition for him to play in. And I think he can boss that and get a decent amount of Premier League games as well. And also means that in games we can take Højbjerg off, which we just never seem to do either. And if we did, it seemed to change things a bit. So I think he's a really important player to have. Like HG says, a player to hold on to because in the next few years he'll be homegrown. I don't see the loan being any more beneficial to him when you're getting sort of a virtually. Did he get in the Championship team of the season, didn't he? And he was Norwich's player of the season.
He did. What I would say is there's a voting system, and I think Skipp won man of the match the bulk of Norwich's season. All I would say is there's a lot of Tottenham fans probably voting for that.
Yeah, but you say that. But at the end of season thing, all of their players were basically bowing to Skipp. And like I said, a lot of my friends are Norwich fans. They're all gutted that he's not going to stay. There's a lot of talk because he was seen sort of maybe looking for a house in the off season, and people going, he's going to move to Norwich. But I don't see it. He's a Tottenham boy, and I think he'd much rather play there. He's had a really good time at Norwich. It's a decent place to live, so I'm sure he had a good year there. But if he's not going to want to stay there long term, if he's got a chance at playing at Spurs, he'll come back, and I think he definitely will.
And we talked about Jack Clarke earlier. I mean, that's the value of having a good loan at a team that. I mean, Skipp was always first choice at Norwich. He was not going to be part of the squad. They had a plan to play him week in, week out. I'm sure they're going to do the same for the Chelsea guy they've just signed on loan for this season. I suspect that Gilmore will take the Skipp role. Obviously,
Yeah.
they're slightly different players, but I think he'll do the same thing. That's what we need for Jack Clarke. We need him to go to a club where he's not just going to be part of the 18. That the club want to play him every week because they think he's better than what they already have. Earlier in the summer, I read rumours that he could go to Forest. Obviously, Chris Hughton's manager there, so that would be a link with Spurs at least. But I mean, like all these players, they need games. Jack Clarke needs regular games. Not coming in for 30 minutes at the end of a game, not starting a game and being the first player hooked, but actually being trusted to produce. And again, like Jack Clarke's still only 20. I think he's a couple of months younger than Skipp. They could easily be the future of Spurs, and they just need to give him a chance. Skipp got his chance and took it, and now it's going to be up to Clarke to do the same, most likely.
And do you think, just on Højbjerg, Franco, I just want to pick up on something you said about, Højbjerg can't play every game. Do you think Skipp being in the first team would allow Højbjerg to play a slightly different role in the side like he has done for Denmark? Because he's not really a sitting deep defender for Denmark, is he? It might, having a bit more defensive solidarity there might be able to free him up to go forward a bit more.
Yeah, but also we don't know what system's going to get played under Nuno. If he plays three at the back, then the midfield will be different. We won't have two sitting, I very much doubt. And yeah, I think what you really need is players that are capable of doing both. So it's not a case of I am the DM, I'm going to sit here all day and do nothing else. You want those players to be able to cover each other and then also have the ability to go forward. And that's the thing with Skipp. I say like he covered a lot of the game, but there were times where he would do sort of bursting runs into space and stuff like that. And he reads the game well, and he seems to know what you need to do in certain situations. So, yeah, I agree. I think he will allow that. And, yeah, maybe it will mean that Højbjerg isn't quite so limited to what we saw of him last season.
Yeah,
and to be like with Denmark play with three centre-backs. And so we've seen Højbjerg be slightly different. Obviously, there was the game against Wales where the Danes put Christensen into midfield, and he was the DM, and that again allowed Delaney and Højbjerg to kind of be have a bit more freedom. But I think we saw it with Ndombele. If you play three centre backs, those midfielders at Spurs will have more license to go forward. Højbjerg was pretty much the only one last season who knew that we had to keep someone back. Lo Celso could do it, but was in and out of the side through injury. Ndombele can, but doesn't really want to. If we get the system right, then I think all of those players can thrive.
I think the thing about Højbjerg is, though, he's not the best passer of the ball. Like he's perfectly competent. He's a professional footballer, but there's been times in this tournament where he's been sort of maybe the second man breaking forward, and certain players would try and thread a ball through or play a ball over the top, curling into the box, and he's just gone nah, and just held it up and sort of recycled it or something like that. So, do you really want Højbjerg to be doing that? I think it would be good to see him slightly more involved than we did last season. He set up a few goals last year, but yeah, I don't. Like HD says, we've got players that are probably better at doing that anyway.
Last one from me. Troy Parrott I don't believe he's had a loan renewed anywhere. Millwall last season, it was a bit of a flop, wasn't it, Franco?
It's just, yeah, I mean, his entire season was, to be fair, wasn't it? It's difficult. I think he started off the season a bit injured, and then just once you don't score for a few games, it can take ages. And I remember just every week looking. I didn't actually try and watch him play last season, but I did always try and check the highlights. And he was sort of, I think you could say he was busy, and that's the problem is when you're a striker and you haven't scored, you try much harder, and then the more you try, the harder it gets. But I think, what did he get? Like 1 or 2 goals in the end last season? Maybe only 1.
Yeah, it was only 1 or 2. Yeah. On that a penalty or a tap in or something. It was a sitter. I remember that.
It was like a dodgy pass back or something, wasn't it? That he latched onto. Yeah, it wasn't a great goal, but I saw some of his missed opportunities, and you can see there's a player in there. Definitely, I think maybe Spurs fans just got their hopes up a bit too soon with him, and it's probably going to be maybe another year or 2. I mean, Jose wasn't convinced, was he?
It's the Ireland thing, though, isn't it, Franco? It's the Ireland thing. It's because he's getting in the national side. Matt Hayes is on the party. You can see how poor the Irish national team is if someone who's being loaned out to a League One side is getting in your national team. That's the connection, isn't it? So for me, I automatically assume he's playing for the Republic of Ireland. He's going to be a player, right, HG?
Look, I think Parrott is a player, but I think we need to remember that he's only 19. He turned 19 in February. like even if he didn't come good until next season, if you get a decent striker at 20 years old coming through into play regularly for Spurs, that's a good result, because Kane was 21 when he started coming through, and Kane's loan spells weren't great. The first few didn't really work out, and then he got a decent one at Millwall. But even going to Norwich and to Leicester, he wasn't the superstar that he now is. So, like I said before, and I will stick by this, I think Troy Parrott is a better striker at 18, 19 than Harry Kane was. Whether he'll move on to do the things that Kane has done, probably not, because Kane is obviously the best striker we've had in the last 20 years in England. But I definitely think that with Troy Parrott, like, I think he's left-footed, but I'm not sure. He's really good with both feet. He's got obviously a decent size. I think that he just needs he needs some more games. I don't know if he'll go back to Ipswich in League One. It'd be nice to see him maybe go to the Championship. But again, he needs to play. And so maybe rather we do the opposite that we did this year. We send him to League One for the first 6 months. And if it works out, then maybe we can go up a league. But for him to be Kane's backup would be asking a bit too much. And I do think Parrott is good enough eventually to be a player who plays regularly for Spurs.
Well, Sam brings up the point. Mason is in charge of player development, 17 to 23. I wonder what input he'll have on Skipp's immediate future, or will he now be subsumed fully into the first team squad? I think he's going to go first team.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. I think he's proved himself, and I don't think he would need to do that. Our sort of 17 to 23 is generally players that are on the lower end of that, aren't they? There's very few players at Spurs who make it into the. How old is Sirkin now? HG? It's like 19.
He was born in 2003, I think. So 18, 19. But yeah, he's like, I think he's around the same age as Parrott. But like Sirkin needs games. I think he would know that too. Like, he's not going to be a squad player at Spurs. He's not going to come in. We've got options to play on that side, whether it be Davis or Reguilon or Sessegnon. So Sirkin needs to go out on loan, and he needs to play senior football. I think the same is true of Scala. I think the same is true of Devine. I don't know enough of them, but I'd want to see them playing competitive senior football, because the under-23s at Spurs, okay, yes, you're close and you're being coached every week by people that may well play you later on, but you just have to look at what Chelsea do. You know, Mason Mount went for a couple of years. Reece James went for a couple of years, and they became proven players. They became good enough, and senior football is what does that. So I do think that those younger players, even though we've got Conference League games that they could easily get minutes in, I'd rather see them playing week in, week out somewhere else.
I mean, Chelsea just do that, don't they? They buy every young player in the year. Each year they loan out at least 20, 25 players you forget are even there still. The thing with Spurs is, if you haven't made it by the time you're 21, generally we release, and sometimes even earlier than that. And just get some more in. We all seem to have plenty of youngsters coming to Spurs, and I just think with Parrott as well, maybe he does need to play at League One. Maybe Championship was a bit too ambitious playing in that division. Even if you went down to League Two, you're still playing against grown men rather than kids, and I think he would bash in goals there. So maybe we just need to. For a striker, like, confidence is a big thing. So maybe you need to put him in a league where, you know, he can maximise his confidence by owning the teams he's playing against. So maybe that's an option. I don't know. But like HG says, he seemed to have a better time at Ipswich overall, even though he didn't score at all at Millwall. He only got 2 at Ipswich. I think he seemed to have a better time. And again, I know a few Ipswich fans, and they thought he was all right, even though Ipswich were pretty poor last season. So I don't know. I think alone is important.
Yeah, you take Ipswich's manager, Paul Cook. I think Paul Cook had Reece James at Wigan when he was there. Like, I think Paul Cook would be a decent manager for Parrott to go back to. If Ipswich were interested, then I think that would be a decent move for him. But I do think that, you know, we're looking at, you know, a quality, let's say a team in League One that likes to create chances, or a Championship team where he says, you know what, I'm going to make the best of it and I'm going to battle through. Because, I mean, Kane did that at Leicester when they were in the Championship, but he wasn't playing week in, week out. He was on the bench with Vardy. So whoever their main striker was must have been really good to keep Kane and Vardy out of the team. But I just think that as Spurs fans, sometimes we get a bit impatient. These guys are still kids. They may look like grown men, but Parrott's 19. Scarlett is 17.
Is that not a thing with Parrott? Do you not think there's a little bit the John Bostock there, where he was, you know, he was a player because he looked like a 20-year-old, 25-year-old man, like full facial hair. like at 17 years old. So there is a part of that makes me think maybe he was the best because he was the biggest boy. Do you know what I mean? So I think the next 2 years are quite important. He might end up being completely useless.
Yeah, I just think like technique-wise, I think it's there. I think they're playing up in his head. There are signs, and I will say signs, that he's a bit like Sheringham in that respect. Because when I've seen him play for Spurs, it is, we're talking pre-season out in China or whatever it was. But there were occasions where I was like, that's advanced for a 17-year-old, which is what he was then. He just needs to, like, maybe he's one of those players that will do better when he's playing with better players. Maybe Millwall was a bit too Route 1 for him. Who knows? But I do think that wherever he goes, it's going to be a little bit on him, and we just have to make sure that the right club get him. And if he doesn't go anywhere, then he needs to be learning from Harry Kane every day, because there's a good chance he will be one of the two strikers we have going further forward. So maybe keeping him wouldn't be so bad. But I think we need to figure out what the situation is and go from there. But I don't know. Yeah, games. I'd always pick games.
I'd be like literally stand there and watch Harry Kane in every training session and everything he does and try and emulate it. Surely that's the best education ever. Anyway, we've talked about Troy long enough. I'm going to take some viewer questions. Kicking off with this one. Joel Hogan says, what do you think are the main signings needed for us, considering it probably won't be like last year's quantity? I say 2 centre-backs and a right-back. I think it could be last season's quantity, if I'm honest, Joel. But what you're saying, Franco, give that one to you first.
Yeah, I think we also need a centre midfield. I don't want to see Winks and Sissoko there next season. And if we don't see them there, then we definitely need a replacement. Winks coming back, like we just mentioned, is going to be in rotation with Højbjerg and can occasionally play alongside. But I want to see a player in there that's going to be able to do a bit more than that, with decent passing range, bit of dribbling ability, the player that we really hope Lo Celso would be. And I think we just need someone else in there. And I don't know who it's going to be at all, though. That's the issue. I don't know if that's a priority, but I think we definitely need it. And like I said, without Winks and Sissoko, we've got hardly any centre midfielders. So it just makes sense that we would need to get one more in. But yeah, centre backs, if we're playing through at the back, is where we need to concentrate, start with, and that should be our priority. And then I see centre backs. And again, I wouldn't really mind too much if Aurier stays another season. I don't feel confident actually saying that when I say it out loud.
No, I don't like it. Stop it.
Yeah, ideally, yeah, you're right. We need those. We need a new right back. We need centre backs. We need a centre midfield. The rest of there's a few other things that we could do outside of that, but I think those are the priorities, definitely.
Striker. Like Vinicius is gone. Right, we need a striker. I mean, that's just it. Like, we can't think Kane's going to play every game. Kane's not going to want to go to Bulgaria or to Austria or wherever the Conference League games are going to be. That would be almost a waste of his time, really. So we need a striker. Like,
do you not see Scarlett playing those games though?
No, Scarlett's 17. Like, I'm sorry.
So he came on in the Europa League.
Yeah, for what, a minute? I mean, like, or 8 minutes. Like, Dane Scarlett at 16, look, I get that he might be hyped up, but the idea that a club the size of Spurs would be having Scarlett as their backup striker, no, I'm sorry. I honestly, like, you may as well have Parrott and Scarlett together.
Look, I know it's few and far between, but you wouldn't be saying that about Rooney when he was 16. And I know he was a generational talent again, but would you have been saying that about him? Scarlett could be that good.
But I think Rooney came in, his debut was against Spurs, I think.
Another guy with the body of a man.
Came in at the start of the season at 16, 17 and played regularly and was part of the squad and scored. I mean, we all know the goal against Arsenal that he scored. Scarlett has played, 15 minutes total? It's a massive gamble that we don't need to take. So, like Scarlett could well become the next Mbappe or the next Haaland. We don't know, but I think that from where I am right now, I don't want Scarlett or Parrott being the guy if Kane gets injured, and I don't want Son playing up there because I don't think it really works for Son either. I think we someone like Vinicius, because I don't think he was as bad as people said, but someone like that to come in and be that guy. Like, Ings would be the perfect choice. But I do think we need to have a backup striker. We can't like, if Kane got injured the first game of the season, or the first game of September, so we can't do anything, and we're left for 4 months with Parrott and Scarlett. No, that can't be allowed to happen.
All right.
Wow.
I just think that the problem is that once we've replaced the players that we need to, we've gotten a few centre backs. I'm not sure whether there'll be enough money left for a decent striker, and I'm sure there'll be strikers that we can get. But would they really be an improvement compared to what we could offer to Scarlett at a young age, playing Conference League football with the rest of the team? I don't think it's a bad gamble to take, if I'm honest. But I can see your point.
So next, does Son sign his extension yet? No. We were discussing this the other night with Matt when he was on the show, Franco. So I'll get your take on it. Why is it taking so long?
Because he might not sign. I don't know. I think somebody posted on Twitter something about we need to appreciate Son's commitment to the club because he's told Paratici that he'll be playing here next season. And I said, well, yeah, only if he's not going to leave next summer. Because I mean, he can play next season, and then he can leave much more cheaply next summer, and that's a big concern. But I would assume that there was something going around about the amount of money that we had, and because we took this government loan, we couldn't then spend it on increasing our wages or players, which sounds like a load of nonsense to me.
It's
but
bollocks.
We've now given that money back to the government and taken out further long-term loans on that instead. So apparently we're fine. We're in a good situation. But the point is,
it's got 250 million quid cash on hand.
Yeah, but the point is, in those situations, you can still agree a deal and say we can't sign this until we get the cash. But in principle, you can agree everything. And the fact that it's taken this long tells me that something's going on. Unless it's levied longing it out as long as possible. If he's doubling his wages, he's waiting as long as possible until he has to do that.
He's trying to tie Amazon in for a second series of Son and his dad. And
he's already saved about he's saved about 3 million not having a manager for 2.5 months. He's probably saving more and more money by not giving Toby a deal until he's about to leave. He's doing the same with Son. So this could well be Levy's absolute financial
acumen.
I don't think it's something a bit more derogatory than that, but yeah, fine, acumen. Not doing it to the last minute. But with Son, there's bound to be all sorts of image, right? There's bound to be all sorts of things about shirt sales because I bet he sells us loads, and I bet the Son fan club contributes a large amount of money to the club. So he's probably in a pretty strong position for this, final big contract to be getting as much cash as he can. So that's probably what it is more than anything else.
And to pick up on that, any significance to Son not getting Olympics call up? Why wouldn't they call Son up to the Olympics, HG? That's weird, isn't it?
Maybe because they don't want him. I don't know.
Why would you not want him? He's the best player in South Korea.
Well, yeah, but maybe he's already told them that he's not interested. I mean, he's probably played a couple of Olympics tournaments for them already. So
he's got his immunity from military service, and that's it. He's going jog on now.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The Olympics are generally for younger players, aren't they? They're not for players that are 28, 29 years old.
Yeah, so it's an under-23 competition. But imagine if you're another South Korean player and you're playing professionally in Europe and you're 26, 27, but you still have your military service hanging over your head, and then some son comes along and says, "No, I want to play." No, I think that it makes a whole lot of sense. And the Olympics are over before the season starts. So he wouldn't miss any Spurs games, but I'm quite happy. I hadn't even considered it. The Olympics football tournament means very little to me anyway.
Everyone, really.
Yeah, I feel that way about the Olympics right now. Is it happening soon? I guess it must be. I don't know, but no. I'm happy that he's not going, and I don't really care, surprised or not.
I'm just going to nip to the John while I put this up. HG. I know you're not sold on Sasha from Stuttgart. If we're looking at a big man player profile for a striker, is there actually anybody you would like to get in? I'm blanking.
I think with Sasha, he's had one good season in the Bundesliga. It would be a lot of money for us to sign him from Stuttgart right now. It would be more of a gamble than I'd want to play, if I'm honest. I think there are strikers that would be out there, but yeah, if you want a big man, then that limits it a little bit. I want strikers. I'd be happy if they were small and nippy. I'd be happy if they were 5'10" and stocky. So I talked about Jovic earlier. I think Jovic is probably available. I'm not sure Real Madrid are going to want to keep him. I guess it depends on Ancelotti, but someone like that, even if it's just a loan, I'm all right with that. Like, I think I saw Brandon also put Weghorst. Weghorst, I think, has got 1 year left on his deal at Wolfsburg. Champions League football there, but still he might want to come. Premier League is his dream apparently. So there are out there, but I just think that it's Sasha Kalajdzic, the Austrian striker that he's talking about. But I just think it would be a massive gamble. Only one season in the Bundesliga. He scored a lot of goals, but yeah, I guess I haven't seen him enough to think he's definitely going to replicate it in the Premier League, or he's definitely a quality footballer who could. I've just seen him. I've just seen the stats. So I don't know. But what about you, Franco? Can you think of any strikers that are maybe outside the box that we haven't discussed already?
You're not going to like this one, HG. What about Troy Deeney?
You're right. I'm not going to like it. What is he? 34 now?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, for one season to do a Pavlyuchenko and run around a bit. It's like, I mean, as Elena says here, she put about Weghorst. She says that he looked a bit of a lump for the Dutch. He is a bit of a lump. He's Calvert-Lewin without the athleticism, but he gets himself into the box and he scores goals, and he's done it regularly for Wolfsburg. I think it's 3 seasons in a row now that he's scored 20 goals. That type of striker will score in the Premier League. I do think that, but yeah, like, it's not a long-term move. It's not something that really fills anyone with fire or with passion to think, yeah, he's going to be a really good player. But as someone who can play with Kane, Weghorst could probably do it. There are lots of players that could probably do a bit of both, but yeah, it's a tough one.
What about Patrick Schick?
I love Patrick Schick, but I think he's playing every week at Leverkusen, and I don't think we'll spend the money to get rid of to buy him. The chance,
you reckon it'd be quite a lot?
Yeah, the chance to buy Schick was last summer because he'd done 6 months on loan at Leipzig. I was amazed that Leipzig didn't buy him because they were selling Werner. So I was like, okay, he's the guy they're going to bring in, and they didn't sign him, and he went to Leverkusen for I think 25 million euros. And obviously we've seen him do well in the Euros, but he's been a decent player for a few seasons, scoring goals in Germany and in Italy. But yeah, again, that's the key. Like, I remember years ago when Kevin Morales signed for Everton, and I'd watched him in Belgian football, and I think he went to Greek football after that, and he was just a name that was always in the back of my head. And Everton got him, I'd say, almost on the cheap because no one had ever really heard of him. And I think there are players like that in European football who have a good reputation, that maybe have 1 or 2 years away from the spotlight, so people don't know much about them. But if you're a scout worth your salt, like, those are the players that you're going to think, okay, like, I could do something with this person, or like, he could be something different for us. So it's it's there are many possibles, but Elena says Dolberg. It's just Nice. They're a wealthy side, so he may well get a pay rise out of this, but I'm not sure he's going to come to Spurs. I don't know.
Milic.
I don't know. The thing is with these big target men, none of them are particularly exciting, are they?
None of them are Harry Kane, are they? That's the reality. None of them have got the skill set of Kane. None of them are good on the ball, can drop deep, create things. They're just lumps. We're talking about lumps who can finish.
But that's what most number 9s are, really. Yeah. I mean, like, as much as Alan Shearer scored a bucket load of goals, he wasn't a creator. He was a finisher. He was a true number 9. Will R talks about, I think it's Odsonne Edouard, the guy who's been at Celtic for a couple of years. Yeah, like, he's looking to leave Celtic. He's got 1 year left on his deal. I'm surprised that he didn't go to Leicester because of the Brendan Rodgers connection. Leicester went for Patson Daka instead. But Edouard would be someone that could fit the kind of Levy parameters of the type of signing that he wants Spurs to make. There are options out there. Like, I don't think we need to have 80 million to get the type of player that will do the job we need. I just think we need to be smart about getting the right player in. And maybe I should trust Paratici more than Hitchin when it comes to those things. But it's early days.
Early days.
Last summer, I thought, with Mourinho and Mendes in charge, it's going to be someone from the Portuguese league. And I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't look up to see who top scored in Portugal, because it would have been Vinicius and I'd have looked like a genius. But if Paratici's been in Italy for a long time, that's the league he knows best. There's a very good chance he's going to look for strikers from that league. So yeah, whoever that turns out to be, whether it's Vlahovic or someone maybe with, or I think I read that, or I saw the Tifo video about maybe signing Duvan Zapata as an option from Atalanta. I do think Italian football is where he's going to look for a lot of his signings, because that's the market he knows best.
Yeah. Lots of wrestling references going on. I love it. Guys, I think we're going to wrap there. We've been going for an hour and a half.
All right.
So
just quickly going to say to Bjorn, the Norwegian Viking, I agree. I'm on the Sabitzer train.
I
have
like
a great
Sabitzer.
tournament. Yeah. But I think, again, he's better than Winks. That's literally my criteria for a midfield replacement. Are they better than Harry Winks? Yes.
Hello.
Get
I'm
him in.
better than Winks.
No.
Get on that peloton, maybe, caller. Get on that peloton for the next couple of weeks, and maybe. Yeah, it looks like a drying rack right now. No.
Look, I'll just have you know, this is a sweat towel. Look, and there's some inspirational words for you there.
So, competition this week, G-Heads. You get a signed sweat towel from the caller if you can answer this question. I'm joking.
Yeah, we could do that.
I haven't got a question.
We could do that one week, but I just want to let you know how expensive those branded towels are.
Well, of course. You wouldn't buy them if they weren't, would you, caller? You love wasting money.
Oh, Jesus. Look, guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Please do like the video, subscribe, and absolutely listen to the podcast as well. Available. New episode just come out, Franco. I haven't been on it for ages. Maybe you'll have me back one day.
Yeah, we did a Nuno one the other day. Myself, Seb, and Bren. That was nice. So yeah, we'll be doing another one next week. We're going to start doing transfer pods and stuff because we don't want to neglect our podcast listeners. And the other thing, tell a friend if you're ever chatting about podcasts, tell them about the Cheese Room. We're obviously a bit ambiguous and because we're called the Cheese Room, which has got nothing to do with Tottenham really. So we don't come up high on search lists and stuff like that. So do tell people, grow the cheese.
Absolutely. Grow the cheese. It's unique. We fill a gap in the market. Goodbye from me. Franco, anything you want to say before you cheerio?
No, not really. Just come on. Let's do the Danish. We're going to get Benny on, our Danish podder.
I'm certainly reaching out to him to make contact and see if Benny can come on. I mean, me and him normally argue. So England and Denmark will definitely be arguing. So it'll be blockbuster viewing. Yeah. And goodbye from you, HG. Anything you want to say?
Nothing. I've been talking a lot, obviously, for the last hour and a half. But there's a comment quickly from John Barnes. Maybe not the John Barnes, but you know,
you've got to hold and pass and do it.
No, my gosh,
you can't be
slow. The fifth word you got wrong, caller. Gosh. Yeah, so Daichi Kamada plays for Eintracht Frankfurt, so they're my German team. I know a little bit about him. He's a good player. He's a really good player. I don't know if he'd really fit into Spurs. I don't know where it's kind of, he's one of those lightweight midfielders that he could come to the Premier League and just shine, or he could get shunted out of things very quickly. But yeah, like if Levy's looking to make a bit of money on marketing, then getting Tomiyasu and Kamada at the same time, we'd be good in Japan for the next decade. But yeah, he's definitely a good player.
Good stuff. And on that bombshell, come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!